everyone. I am your teacher Annalyn and I am back with another lesson for this time. But before we start our discussion, let us first have a recap of our lesson last meeting. So last meeting we talked about poetry and its type. So we have dramatic, lyrical, and narrative poetry. But why is it important for us to study poetry when others are saying that we shouldn't teach poetry in school, but here we are studying or keep on studying poetry? This is because poetry enables teachers to teach students how to write, read, and understand any text. Also, for other students, poetry can be a gateway to other forms of writing. It can help teach skills that come in handy with other kinds of writing. For example, precise, economical, diction, for example. Going back to our topic, I am going to discuss you a poem entitled Incident in a Rose Garden by Donald Justice. I will read you the poem and I want you to take note of the important details you might get from it or for the activity later. But before that, here are words that might help us more understand the poem. We have here scythe. It is a tool used for cutting crops, and beckon meaning or it is a gesture with the hand, arm, or head to encourage someone to come near or follow. Now I am going to read you the poem, so listen. Incident in a Rose Garden by Donald Justice, Gardener. Sir, I encountered dead just now among our roses. Thin as scythe, he stood there. I know him by his pictures. He had on his black coat, black gloves, and broad black hat. I think he would have spoken. Seeing his mouth stood open, big it was, with white teeth. As soon as he beckoned, I ran. I ran until I found you. Sir, I am quitting my job. I want to see my sons once more before I die. I want to see California. Master. Sir, you must be the stranger who threatened my gardener. This is my property, sir. I welcome only friends here. That. Sir, I know your father, and we were friends at the end. As for your gardener, I did not threaten him. Old men mistake my gestures. I only meant to ask him to show me to his master. I take it you are he? Okay, so that's the end of the poem. So we are going to learn and analyze the poem by answering the following questions. Number 1, what kind of poem is the Incident in Rose Garden by Donald Justice? Number 2, who are the characters of the poem and what do they symbolize? Okay, so students, we have here Donald's Incident in a Rose Garden is a dramatic poem, meaning it contains dialogue that goes back and forth between characters and is similar to other dramatic texts such as plays or scripts. Unlike the other poems you might have read, this poem is in free verse, right? It has no defined structure, rhythm, or rhyme. Okay, so we're going to answer the question number 2. Who are the characters? So our characters are we have 3 characters, the gardener, master, and dead. The opening dialogue is spoken by the gardener to the master after he has encountered death. His description of what that looks like is stereotypical, meaning an oversimplified merge or understanding of something or someone. The gardener claims to recognize that by his pictures and the way he describes that thin as a side in the wearing black clothing is the stereotype of death personified. As soon as he beckoned, I ran until I found you. Sir, I am quitting my job, said the gardener. Gardener runs away after that, beckoned for him. So though we ran away from conversations and situations concerning death and dying, therefore the gardener serves as a symbol of life and living in the poem because he cultivates life in the rose garden and also has a passion for living, a desire to see and do other things before his time on earth ends. The master in here is speaking to Death, who is accused of threatening the gardener. The master asked Death to get off his property, saying, I welcome only friends here. It is clear that Death's presence makes the master uncomfortable as well. But rather than running away, he confronts Death, asking him to leave. It differs from the gardener in his reaction to death, which perhaps illustrate how people deal with death or difficult situations in different ways. The master dialogue also reveals a sense of ownership in regards to his earthly life, right? He tells that this is my property, as it a possession will exempt him from death or will drive that away. As we continue reading, however, we see that this is not true. Okay, so our third character is That. That is the one who responds to the master's assertion that he welcomes only friends unto his property by telling the master that he was friend with his father at the end. At the end, presumably at the time of his father's death, he explains that he did not threaten the gardener, but rather only wanted to ask him to show him to his master. This final line, I take it you are him, is directed toward the master, and although it is the last line of the poem, it leads us to believe that it is time for the master to die because he is the person that has been looking for all along. Okay, so I hope you gained something regarding our lesson. Now we're going to have a brief review of our lesson by answering our questions lately. We have here the incident in a rose garden is what a kind of poem. So it is a dramatic poem, students, which contains dialogue that goes back and forth from between characters and is similar to other dramatic texts such as plays or scripts. Who are the characters of the poem and what do they symbolize? The characters of the poem or this poem are the gardener, who symbolizes people who fear death and has a desire or passion for living. The master, who possesses everything but isn't exempted of death, and death that made the two characters equal when it comes to death. Okay, so now students, now it's your turn. So in a group of 5, you create your own dramatic poem with the same title, The Incident in a Rose Garden, using 5 characters. So to the poem that we've read, we used only, okay, so it has only 3 characters, so in your own poem you are going to create another character, or you will create a character of 5 and with a different plot, of course, and you are going to perform it in class after. So I hope you've gained something and you've gained a lesson from the poem, and so you appreciate poetry as well. That will be all. Have a good day.